Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland preview podcast ahead of this weekend's clash with Watford at the Stadium of Light. It was a lovely Monday night and the lads can make it a truly brilliant week if they can double it with another win when the Hornets visit this Saturday. But what can we expect from Watford to let us know? As always, the only man I welcome onto the podcast when we play Watford at the moment is Peter from the excellent Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast, voted possibly our favourite or our listeners' favourite preview guest.
Blimey! I'm glad to see the benchmark is low. Thank you for that. Much appreciated, everybody else.
Look, I normally go straight into the last result, but as it is, I'm going to change a little bit. So
Fire away, yeah. Whatever you want, whatever you want to know. It's all fairly desperate. That's fine.
Watford's always quite an interesting thing to cover. And look, I kind of didn't purposely look too deep into it, but you're on your phone, you flick onto stuff, you dig into things, you see forums, you see Twitter, and I like to go into forums before I do these shows because it gives you a relatively decent feel. But the rumours last week were that Tom Cleverley was being sacked. He hasn't been. I saw some fan sites, yourselves, others saying he deserves better. He's this, that, and the other regarding the transfer window. I've purposely not looked deep into it, as I say, but can you run me through what's going on, the current state of play?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, if we go through from obviously we got a result against you guys 2-1. We won a series of games at the start of the season 2-1, basically. But all of those games were incredibly close margins. We didn't hammer anybody apart from Stoke, and let's be honest, that's Stoke. Um, but other than that, it was all literally one goal margins. And at the start of the season, we all thought we were going to be finishing probably, if we finished outside the bottom three, we'd be happy. So everybody has appreciated what a remarkable job that Tom Cleverley has done by raising expectation levels in many ways. And he's very, very positive in what he's done. The performances haven't all been great. We've probably not had two consecutive 45 minutes performances, to be honest with you. No, tell a lie, probably Plymouth, but even then we managed to let in a last minute goal. But he's done well, and the fans are well versed enough and supported Watford throughout the last crikey 5 years of exploding clown's car of football management that we've had, and seen that actually what we've got has been a closer connection to the manager. Now what has happened was we've reverted to the mean, if you like. The dial's been pushed the other way. We've had a very thin, very parlous squad. He was getting more out of them than anybody expected. Injuries started to bite. A few, kind of gaps started to appear, and the owners have never done anything to try to help him, until yesterday, with the close of the window, when they decided to try to actively not help him at all. 2 weeks ago, or now 3 weeks ago now, we heard that he was basically got two games to save his job. He got a draw away at Cardiff in an absolutely monumentally dull game. It hurts me even to try to remember it now. We got an equaliser in the 87th minute. Without that, he was gone. We then went to Derby, who, if you look at the form stats for the last six games, are 24th. They haven't won. They've lost every single game, and that's the one team we beat. But it was a good performance, etc. And then we've reverted back to the same thing where we've had a number of defeats. So the fan protest to try to one support him, but also to protest against the owner, it's against the line of results, because a lot of people who are very, very kind of pro the owner, whoever it would be. I mean, basically, we could have Stalin in charge of us, and some people would be going, "No, he's really good and he's got a nice moustache." It was like, well, no. Then they turned around and said, "Well, if we weren't losing, you wouldn't be protesting." And we're saying it's not the losing; it's the fact that he's got nothing to work with, and the owner is trying to do what he's always done and make him basically the 24th casualty of his 12-year reign, which is ridiculous. And he's the one person who's connected everybody together. Even now we're 12th, and we've lost, I think it's something like seven of the last nine. I mean, but and yet the fans are saying we can see what he's done. He needs support, and the board basically haven't provided him, or the owner Gino Pozzo haven't provided him with anything at all. However, we've got a parlous financial state. So on one hand, you look at it and go, well, they've got to kind of budget accordingly, but we are absolutely shredded to pieces basically at the moment. So enjoy Saturday, everybody. I think you'll probably be warming your boots, because we've got very, very little about us.
I remember last time you said that you came up and you were 2-0 up against us was about 20 minutes ago and we salvaged a draw. So hopefully, hopefully not that again. But
Oh, I know this is all part of an elaborate double bluff, but I hope you'd at least give me till the end of it. Yeah, no, we'll see. We've got one forward. At the start of the transfer window, we had three forwards. One is an 18-year-old Malian player who's played 260 minutes. We also had Daniel Jefferson, who was previously at Sheffield United, is now at Bournemouth. He came in, was absolutely shocking, didn't do a thing, has been sent back to Bournemouth. So we were left with the only other player who was also on loan, somebody we previously had, Vakun Bio, who is, he scored 10 goals and is the third top scorer in the championship, but he scored in, I think, 6 games because he got four against Sheffield Wednesday when they were imploding. He got two against Derby, who, as I mentioned, form guide right out of the window. Um, and he got sent off in the last game for basically putting in a Tekken move on somebody in terms of which just wasn't really helpful at all. So we've now got this young Malian lad, Mamadou Doumbia, good player, good left foot, can play outside or can play centre, but he's still 18, and it's going to be very tough learning curve for him. We're very hopeful for him, but we've got no choice. We have got absolutely nobody else, and there are other injuries in and around, including the lad who we bought on, which kind of gave you guys problems in the latter part of the game that we played, which is a guy called Quadro Bar,
yeah,
who is muscular, he's fast, he's direct, he's got kind of end product. He's gone out. We just haven't had much at all. There's a couple of other good little players in there, but crying out loud, we are down to beyond the bare bones.
looking at the last few games, you mentioned about form before, and I think you said what 2 wins in nine, but the way I read it was I think 1 win in 8 or something like that. But there's probably 2 wins in
Yeah, yeah.
nine to be
No,
fair.
no, no. I think it's one win and a draw in out of
That's
mine. So that's it. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. It's weird because you touched on Quadro Bar there, and I'll be honest. I mean, well, I'm sure we'll get onto it later on in the last game, but I actually thought Watford were pretty decent. I thought you were well worthy of the lead at half time, and then I felt we came back into it second half and X, Y, and Z. We end up giving that silly penalty away as it was for those who remember it. But I felt like Watford were a decent side, and I kept an eye on you quite a bit, and I thought, Watford might be a team that might be there or thereabouts to playoffs because of Tom Cleverley. He seems to be the man that is going to keep the job and all that sort of stuff. And then I looked at the form and I thought, right, okay, that's fell off quite a bit. You've touched on it a little bit with injuries, but why has the form fell off so much? And why, again, you've touched on this a little bit again, but why is it that Cleverley remains such a popular figure within the Watford fan base despite that run of form?
Well, first of all, he came to us originally in 2009 on loan from United and just lit the place up. I mean, he was spectacular for us in the Championship back then. We hadn't seen the riches that we've seen. With the Pozzos, in fairness to them, we can't knock it. We've had success under them, but we're on the downward, kind of slide a lot at the moment. He's come in. He's been a very good corporate citizen. He hasn't rocked the boat. He's always said the right thing. He came back in 2017, finished his career here, had some injuries at the end. He became an under-18 coach for about 8 months, and then at the back end of last year, where we were kind of precarious, which is kind of where we are now, in mid-table. But the championship, I don't think, is particularly good, and nobody really kind of came past us. But it could have been touch and go. His first game was a win against Birmingham at the end of last season, who we finished 6 points above, and of course we all know where Birmingham went. So, whilst we had other games and it didn't feel that desperate, if that game had gone the other way, it would have been really kind of squeaky bum time. So he's done well. He's a nice guy. He's, kind of he's got some Premiership quality. He's got England caps. He's won leagues. He can talk with a certain level of assurity. However, what he was given at the start of the season was not up to Championship snuff, and he was getting a really good tune out of it. But it's basically, honestly, it has been the fact that it was so threadbare in the first place. Tom Delibashiru got a knock for a while. He's now back, which is good because he makes us kind of work a little bit better. We had Musa Sissoko, who obviously from formerly Tottenham and that lot up the road from your point of view, and he's been a disgrace. We played Cardiff and we played a 3-4-3, and he just kept running out of midfield and leaving poor little Imran Loser, who's all of about 5'7", on his own to deal with the midfield. Basically, he's just cheating as far as I'm concerned. and trying to get the manager sacked. We've got all sorts of political issues. There's an agent called Moji Bayat who is from he is French Iranian, but basically you'll know him from such great places as Nantes and Charleroi. Um, and there's a thing in Belgium called Operation Zero, which is an investigation into money laundering, fraud, and match fixing, and he is at the heart of it. Nobody in the UK is touching this guy with a barge pole, with the exception of our owner, who basically seems to be attached to him via the hip. The families go away on holiday. Their two wives are doing and fair play to them, why not? A kind of a GoFundMe for charity thing. They're very nice, but yeah, we don't want we've got to the point of going, look, he has more than clouded his own legacy. They've done well to bring the debt down because it was up at 138 million, which for a club like Watford is just insane. But now we are at the point whereby we brought that back down to 72 million, but our turnover as of next season, because of losing the parachute payments, goes down to about 20 million. And with the how much the club is worth, he's trying to sell it, but the debt that he's owed is roughly speaking more than the club is worth. So we are in an absolute bind, and everybody is deeply concerned and hopeful that some form of new investment, new direction, and new freshness might come into play. I do a lot of stuff on the accounts. At the end of last June, when we finished it, they had £3,000 cash on hand in the club. Not a great deal.
It's interesting you say that because I know how this is going to go. I'm going to ask the question anyway, though. But I
Oh,
feel
go on.
like I always enjoy our chats that we have, but I do sometimes feel like I go, okay, ownership, and that's because that's just Watford. You can see it from the outside looking in, and like last week we had Aidan McGeady on the show, who was part
Yeah,
of the
great
Sunderland
player.
team. Yeah, fantastic, and he's part of the team, obviously that had two, you could say, bad ownerships, depending on your opinion. My opinion is they were. So we asked him about how much does that filter down to the team. Now he had that for I don't know 4 or 5 years, and it kind of killed us a bit. Everyone knows the story of Sunderland and where we've been and where we've came from. With Watford, it's been over a decade, so it's a pretty straightforward question that I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you'll give a bit more of an idea of why. But can Watford ever progress with Ponzo in charge? Will they just be in purgatory forever, just sat kicking about the championship, doing literally nothing and pretending that they might get relegated, they might get playoffs? Because it feels like you just sit there and do nothing.
I think everybody would love to see the things that worked previously work, but unfortunately, football has caught up. Databases, etc. Everybody's got a computer, so you can study the form in the Ecuadorian second division. To quote a good friend of mine, previously we were like kind of we had eyes everywhere, and we bring out people like Yao Pedro or Richarlison. And don't get me wrong, there are still some of them there, but they're getting increasingly younger, and they're not having the players around them to bring them out, so to speak. You've got to have if you're going to have an artist, you've got to give him a canvas to paint on. And we're just not doing that. So he's obsessed with trying to get that, and I can understand why, because we are a small club on the, on commuter belts of London. So if you throw a stick in Watford, you'll probably hit a Chelsea and Arsenal or a Tottenham fan. Probably explains why I'm throwing sticks all the time. But it's just one of those things. And of course, United and Chelsea. But the point is, it's not your traditional one club town like you guys have got up there. So it's difficult, and we don't have the resources and the non-match day revenue, for example, to come in. We've got a traditional club a stadium in the kind of it's sandwiched between the hospital and the densely packed kind of terrace houses that Roker Park we used to sit in, for example. So we were desperately connected to the TV money, and now that's drying up. He hasn't got that. They own Udinese. Anybody who knows anything about Watford will know they own Udinese, but that's the Pozzo family. Gino Pozzo also used to run Granada. He is currently under investigation by the Spanish tax authorities for everything from again money laundering and tax evasion, with a supposed fine of 35 million and a potential prison sentence of 12 years. Now, bearing in mind there was already a similar one, which it hasn't been made common knowledge, but was that the Italian tax authorities found where he had to make an £11 million settlement because they found a hidden trust in the United Arab Emirates with 63 million in, with him and his sister, they're the two kind of siblings, so to speak, attached to it. And now in Italy, as in Spain, these things normally don't become a custodial sentence because it'll be no, thank you. What we really want is the money rather than to keep you there. But Spain, if anybody knows anything about the Spanish tax stuff going on recently, they're also, it's almost like they roll a dice and go, no, you're the one we're going to make an example of, Shakira, Messi, Ronaldo, etc. They've gone for a lot of this, and therefore his attention is elsewhere. His dad, who's been running Udinese, is now 82 or 83, and therefore I think he's being sort of stretched across. Udinese isn't making money, and the great thing that used to work, it ain't working anymore. This amazing scouting network, everybody we've had in on loan has basically been hiding in a broom cupboard in Udinese. So we've just had a couple of loans. We got a goalkeeper in because Daniel Backman got injured on the 4th of January. So Udinese signed a player called Egil Silvic on the 10th of January. He joined last Thursday for us, and they got him on a free transfer. We bought him for 1.7 million within the group. Watford is still getting screwed on it. You would have thought that knowing that was the case and knowing that we really didn't have any other goalkeeping options, realistically, they would do that. Players are hacked off with, to the back teeth because people have been bought in with promises of investment and, we're going to try and get there. So for people like Wes Hoot, last year, left the club. He was promised that we were going to be having a tilt at various things. I think Porteous, who came in at the same time, was promised similar. He's now gone off on loan to Preston. But the number of players who've gone out versus the quality and the lack of strength and the lack of numbers that have come in are astonishing. We were all hoping yesterday that we would sign a lad from Fulham, even though we need a forward. He's kind of a winger sort of kind of player, simply because we had nobody. We've ended up making within the transfer window effectively one goalkeeper. Fine, great, we're happy with that. One lad on loan from Udinese who's done all right, a lad called James Abankwa, who's coming in at kind of a right centre back slash right wing slash right back. And yesterday we finally managed to solve, well, sort of not, by signing a lad who's been a Chelsea protege. He's been at Strasbourg all season. He's played 6 games. He played 3, and he then went and did his knee. He came back and played 3 games. One game he played 1 minute. One game he played 6 minutes. The other game he played 45 minutes, and then dislocated his shoulder. He came in and he trained on Thursday. He wasn't able to train on the Friday, and yet they still signed him. He's not going to be fit until around March. And we've signed him on loan till the end of the season. It's absolutely desperate. What was our strength is totally and utterly a weakness now. And of course, I absolutely hope that we come and get a win, and the players, because there is still some quality in that squad, will respond and kind of go to Tom Cleverley and say, well, we'll do something. However, when you've got a club culture which has seen 24 different people sitting in the hot seat over that 12 to 13 years, what you develop is a culture whereby actually players look at the manager and go, well, why should I listen to you? You'll be gone in a fortnight. Um, we let everybody know, because finally we found out before what the normal modus operandi is when we fire a manager is they fire him at about 11 o'clock on a Sunday, sometimes 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They like to vary it for us, but within 15 to 20 minutes they've already appointed a new person. And what happens is podcasts or magazines or newspapers it's, oh, the king is dead, long live the king. Right, what's the new thing going on? And they control the kind of they control the news cycle brilliantly. I mean, don't get me wrong. By doing that, we got out ahead of this and found out about it. And we had basically on one Sunday, all of the connections who we've got connections into the training ground. And, there's a lot of people in there who have effectively got loose lips because they're pissed off with the owners, excuse my French, and with the whole setup. And it was like, well, right, we know where this is. He's basically got 2 games. He managed to get 4 points, so had a stay of execution. We then saw This was not last Thursday. No, it's Thursday before last. I get it right. We were playing Coventry on the Saturday. On the Thursday, news reports came out that a gentleman called Rojo Martin or Pacheta in Spain had been appointed and was on his way over, and that he was going to be taking over. Um, Basically, the local newspaper got hold of it. Any comment? No, no comment. Right. Then later on in the Thursday, they said no. Tom Cleverley will be taking charge of the Coventry game. You go, well, that's incredibly limited statement after a no comment. And then on the actual morning of the game, our owner, who I think I probably told you previously, we managed to get to talk to him. He hadn't talked to the fans or the media in 11 years. We got to talk to him in 2023. But he suddenly came out with a statement that no, we've always believed in Tom Cleverley, absolutely, and we look forward to supporting him. So we were all looking at what the club would do yesterday in terms of okay, what does support look like? So we kind of started off a little bit of a kind of okay, let's shine a light on the board against who we were playing on who we were playing on Saturday, which was Norwich. And so on the 72nd minute, which is the number 72 is synonymous with Graham Taylor because that's his age when he passed. With people basically put on a light and turned it and held it at the director's box. Some people think that's a ridiculous and stupid thing to do and kind of reminiscent of a Taylor Swift concert. Other people got the symbolism of it and fine. However, after last night, there is a real appetite for protest and to get him out. And so everybody is kind of like licking the wounds after yet another failed transfer window, because January transfer window is a disastrous time for Watford traditionally. And then things will be happening. Probably not up at the Stadium of Light, I shouldn't wonder, because it's too early. People have had to get up early to get up to your place for 12:30, and also it's an away where people will come and support come what may. But we shall see. But no, it's been interesting times, that's for certain.
I know the form's not been great, but like I'll be honest, I kind of expected what you'd say about Tom Cleverley because from the outside looking in, he has impressed. I thought he did a good job on us first half in the other game, and not too many managers have outsmarted Reggie Slibberis tactically this season, in my opinion. But I don't even know. I feel daft asking this, but then I remember again, no offense, I'm speaking to a Watford fan.
Hmm.
What happened if he doesn't win or get a result on Saturday? Would he be gone? Is there a chance of that, or is he now going to just stay?
My understanding is, uh, whilst we made a protest, this actually comes down to complications with the guys with this Pachetta's work permit, and I think he will be in place for the end of the month. I think cleverly, and everybody is gutted about it. Is more than likely a dead man walking. Some people are saying no, don't be ridiculous. People are out in outrage that he's not being supported, and also trying to understand why he's playing or singing the club tune. I understand, I think, a little bit about why he's doing it, but it's he's a young, ambitious coach, and what he doesn't, I would suggest, what he doesn't want to do is get a bad name from out his time at Watford. But he's played everything as a straight bat. He's been a fantastic corporate citizen. He's done even still with what he's got, we are above where we should be in the league, genuinely. And I appreciate, he tended to be one when I said about no to 45 minutes consecutively. If we had a good 45 minutes, it didn't tend to go into the second half. But more typically what happens would be we would come out in the first 45 minutes and look wretched. And then in that first half of the season, he was making adjustments and everybody was coming out going, no, we don't have players cute, tidy, or authoritative enough to actually take charge and make material changes to either their individual game or any structure around. Say he's going here, get hold of him. He would do that at half time, and then we would see a material change. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a fantastic ambassador. And we've had some people who've been supposedly good coaches, but you wouldn't put them in front of a school kid, a bunch of school kids, let alone a media scrum. He's very good. He's calm. He's done nothing wrong, and he deserves far, far better treatment. But unfortunately, it's one of those things like in the Matrix where you find out stuff about the club in these situations. It's, why didn't I take the blue pill? Why didn't I take the blue pill?
Looking at the fixtures as well, it's like, look, anyone can beat anyone in the championship. We went and got a good win at Middlesbrough, but drew against Plymouth, who were like on a hiding to nothing, it seemed, and they turned up and played well and probably should have beat us. And if anyone would have won that game, but looking at your next four fixtures on paper, and football isn't played on paper, you've got us away, you've got Leeds, that's at home, and then
Yeah,
you've got Borough away, which I know we won yesterday, but Borough are a decent team.
it's a horrible place to go for us. We're traditionally it's a dreadful place for us to go. Yeah, it's a horrible run, and I imagine that it I was kind of led to believe that the work permit got put back. He was due to start the Monday after the Coventry game. That I think he'll be in place for probably after the Middlesbrough game, which is again ahead of our game against Luton at home.
Oh,
Yeah, we went there early on in the season, got our asses handed to us on a plate 3-0. And nobody gets nobody gets a team's season going like we can on occasions. So yeah, it's very, very doom and gloom, and it shouldn't be because even with, as I say, four straight home defeats, until we went into that run of four straight home defeats, this had been unparalleled success at home. That he, yes, close margins, yes, 1-0 wins, but he literally hadn't lost a home game from taking over with 9 games to go at the end of last season, all the way through till 4 games ago. And even then, it's kind of we're now losing them by close margins. But if you're winning them by close margins, you don't have to move the needle a great deal to be on the wrong end of those margins, and that's what's happened when we were doing that stuff in the first half of the season. We had people like, I mean, we still got Chak Fatadza, fantastic player, great to watch, absolutely no end product in kind of relation to how much he creates. Part of that is because he's also had Bio next to him, who basically, if you're sitting by the corner flag, beware, he will hit you eventually. Um, but we also had a young lad called Rocco Vata, who is a bit of an Aiden McGeady in a way.
great little
Fantastic,
player.
fantastic tricky left foot left winger, but more than anything, if you he absolutely spanked a couple of goals in from 30 yards, including against Fulham in the cup, which was fantastic goal. Um, but he was on the bench, and then we bring Barr on, or vice versa. Since we've had the kind of the run-ins with everything, it's been sort of like there hasn't been any ace to play out of the deck, and now we'll be going into Saturday. I doubt Vata is probably going to be fit. He didn't make the last game. Barr is out for probably 3 to 4 weeks minimum, probably actually towards the back end of the season. Chak Fatadza he's always looked like he needs a rest because he's just knackered, because he's played every single game, and Bio isn't available up front. So we've got Doumbia, who looks really good. Don't get me wrong. You might see him and go, "Oh, well, hold on, why are you?" No, we really like what we've seen, but he's not yet developed into the frame that he's going to have in 2 years. He will be a fearsome unit. He'll be, for me, he'll be like Mateta at Palace. He'll be like, oh right, okay, he's got really some technique, and he's got that sort of build. I don't think he's quite there yet, but obviously we're hoping for something on Saturday, ideally. But it's much weakened because those front four, um, give us something, because Bio will work hard, but he very, very little quality from the lad.
Funny, you mentioned about the home form because that was when you look at not the recent form, you separate the home form and the away form. The
Yeah.
away form, you've lost 9 in 15. The home
Oh, it's
form,
awful. The away form's awful. It was and the problem is when you're relying on the home form and the home form dries up as it has done,
mm,
that's why we've plummeted. Which has been, a real shame. There are he was doing incredibly well to get these kind of like these late winners, and appreciate you were on the end of one of them and you won't have enjoyed that. I get it. And
our own fault that one.
yeah, well, but we had enough resilience to do it. However, we saw the flip side when we went away from home. We don't travel well. We went for a period in the kind of early part of the season whereby we would concede a goal within 4 minutes, and it was something like 7 consecutive games, including the game you talked about. Obviously, we've got Leeds coming up in midweek next week, where we went away and Daniel Backman effectively threw 2 goals in the net, and after that we dominated. But Leeds were like, well, okay, you'll get one, and we did through Bar. But you're gonna have to really do something to break us down. They really didn't bother playing us after that. So it's, look, a lot of this has been self-inflicted, for want of a better phrase. A lot of it has been kind of a real contradiction of strength and character at the end of games when we're at home and complete fragility away. So it's yeah, hey, it's the championship. It's not designed to make sense, is it?
No, never has been. Um, Two more to go, which is my normal questions.
Mhm.
I asked you at the start of the season the player that you would take from Sunderland, but you've played us now, so I want to change it a little bit. And I've said a few times I felt like it was one of our poorer performances, but I did feel like we probably deserved the point in the second half. X, Y, and Z. It doesn't really matter. It's done.
Yeah.
Who was the players from our side that impressed you the most on that day?
Um, not so probably not so much on the day. More of having kind of yeah, you're one of those guys who I'll watch. So, for example, I've watched a bit of Lafay. He's looked incredible, but not had him very much. I think Metham has looked class apart.
Yeah.
Personally, not so eye catching, obviously, but just kind of organised and excellent. I think Wilson Isidore has looked like somebody who could become, a legend at your place because I think yeah, he's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to dry up, but if he keeps going at the rate I think he's doing and the work rate, I think it's going to be great. And of course, nobody could move for Chris Rigg when he backheeled against the Smoggies. That was a lovely note. You got Joby as well, who, as I've said to you before, fair play. Anybody who's not trading on the name Bellingham, but trying to make it himself, I think that's good. And I thought he looked all right against us. I think you can see that he's got a gear to go up into, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But which would be good. But no, I remember seeing you guys and thinking, no, I thought it looked a decent outfit, and obviously with Labris coming in, it must be an interesting season for you.
One of the best in, I mean, I've supported since I was 93. I'm not good at maths, whatever year that was. A while. It's up there with my top 3 or 4 seasons. It's been really enjoyable because ultimately, we've said it before. I feel like sometimes when me and you chat, you don't necessarily get that from your team, but I'm sure you will at some day. I like the players on the pitch and I trust that what they're doing is something they care about. And that's all you can ask for in the championship, isn't it?
This is the irony when earlier on in the season, and I think still to a certain degree, there's a lot of these players who we quite like. Porteous has been, I mean, he's now gone off on loan to Preston North End, and he went out and with the parting shot, he said basically, I told her I wasn't going to get game time. What I need is the opportunity and a happy environment. And it was
Mm.
like, oh, well, we know what it's like in there. We can have strange idiosyncrasies because if you're going to have 24 different managers who all go this direction now go this direction and now they don't know whether they're coming or going on some seasons. Um, it'll be yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how things go. But we look. Everybody obviously looks to something because I think you're a big club, historical club, and has potential to push up and actually kind of do something. Although getting into the Premiership, we all know is like I've always described it as it's trying to win promotion to the Premiership is like trying to win a competition where you get a night and a dinner out, and then you get the night and the dinner out, and you find out it's Pizza Hut Express in Woking with Prince Andrew. You're going to get humped one way or another. It's just a question of how hard and how often. But you've actually got the club and kind of fan resources that when you do get moving, okay. Nowadays, it might have to be somebody's got to come in with pockets, Mr. Dreyfus, and go, yeah, okay, we'll take up a 4 point deduction, but we're going to stack the squad and we're going to do something. We just can't do that. We simply cannot do that. We haven't got the depth now, really. I think to get there. And Gino Pozzo, while he came in, and it has to be said, had a cracking first kind of 7 or 8 years, but during that time we were racking up debt and it was being leveraged against the club. It's only since we've sort of started coming out of it, and I and others have started looking at the debt and going, hang on, this is ridiculous, that they are now looking to address that. So it's around half that now. It's about 72. Well, it's actually about 78 million because there's unpaid interest. But even that against the club of the Watford size, when our turnover is going to be dropping circa 20 million, it's just you just go, how on earth are we going to get out of this with the debt that he has leveraged against it? it's worrying. It's genuinely worrying, and he has lost the enthusiasm and the fan, and he's lost the fans. The vast majority of the fans, and the transfer window closing as it did doesn't set us up well for Saturday, and it certainly doesn't set us well for the second half of the season. Obviously, hoping that you get lulled into a full sense of security and we manage to spawn a 1-0 win. But hey, that's
Happened
what I'm here
before.
for. Yeah,
Happened
exactly,
before.
exactly.
Final question as always, predictions. I'll go mine first. I think you're quite good going forward. I think you've got a tendency to mess up at the back, but I think it's a tough game because I think despite everything you've got going on, technically you're only 3 points off the playoffs, although we know how tight that part of the table is. So I'm gonna say 2-1. Sunderland, that is.
Well, we did our one last night, and when anybody suggested that Watford were going to score, Justin, who couldn't be here tonight, basically came in and was almost kind of angry with them and said, "And who's going to score?" Because as I said, three out of our five are not available, and one of the five is is an 18 year old lad. So we'll see how he goes. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets his opportunity, gets his chance, he takes it. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with 3-1 Sunderland. I,
Okay,
I,
good.
just, I just don't think we'll do it. Our actual strength will probably be in the fact that we'll go with the back four. We've got this lad, a Abankwah, in. He's done very well in the last game, and he sat very well next to a lad called Matty Pollock, who's Jamie Pollock's son. Obviously, he's a smoggy. But I would suggest that at the end of this season, because of monies and dropping off of revenues, a lot of players will be sold. Somebody will pick up Matty Pollock, I think, and take him to the Prem because he's got some qualities. He should be the captain already, but instead, in a disgraceful move for some strange reason, Musa Sissoko is the manager's captain. Don't understand why. Disgrace.
Yeah, as always, great one-liners. Good to catch up. I wish that, apart from Saturday, of course, your football club sorts itself out because
Thank you.
I enjoyed chatting to you. But thanks for coming on as always, mate.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Top man.